We signed the papers to move into our own home in Italy in October of 2015, and we moved in the very next day. Shortly after that, we registered with the Comune to become official residents of Monte Carlo, a beautiful and special hilltop village near Lucca. My name is Paul Spadoni, and on this YouTube channel, I'll be telling the story of our lives in Monte Carlo, which also happens to be the hometown of my grandparents, Michele Spadoni and Anita Seguieri. Today, I want to talk about the process we went through to become residents of Monte Carlo and to receive the coveted carta di identita. I should first mention that the process was slightly easier for us because I had obtained my Italian citizenship iure sanguinis about 5 years before. That means I obtained it through the bloodline of my grandfather. He came to America permanently in 1909, but he didn't renounce his Italian citizenship until around 1940, which means that all 7 of his children and his 20-plus grandchildren technically were residents of Italy, as long as they could provide the documentation to prove this and go through a fairly lengthy and complicated process at an Italian consulate in America. I was the first of his grandchildren to go through this process, but now others have followed in my footsteps and some are still in the process. In any event, I summoned up my courage and walked into the Anagrafe office in Monte Carlo. I say I needed some courage because our friend Angelica was not available to be our translator. I told the lady at the counter, Signora Giuntoli, we just bought a home in Monte Carlo and we want to register as residents. I was able to say this simple sentence in Italian. I offered the bill of sale for the house, my codice fiscale, my Italian passport, and Lucy's American passport. Oh, your wife will have to get a permesso di soggiorno first at the questura in Lucca, she said. Well, how about just for me, I said. Yes, I could go ahead. So Signora Giuntoli spent about 20 minutes entering my data into her computer and making copies of all my documents. Then she sent me upstairs to the Ufficio di Protocollo, where another signora took about 10 minutes to enter my data in her files. She printed out some paperwork and stamped it with various stamps. I counted 8 different stamps on her desk. It seems Italian bureaucrats love to stamp papers. After stamping mine with a couple of these, she announced that I was done. Well, done for the day, anyway. She said that within the next 45 days, a police officer would come to check to make sure that we were truly living at our home. After the police check, I had to go to a photo booth and get 3 passport-sized photos, which I brought to the Comune. And about 20 minutes after turning in my photos, I had my carta di identita. Getting a permesso di soggiorno for Lucy was quite an ordeal, one that we truly dreaded. In 2001, we had gone to the questura in Padova 6 or 7 times trying to get a permesso when I had spent a year there teaching at a British school. Ultimately, we gave up when an agent told us we needed to have a certificate of health insurance. We had traveler's insurance, but that wasn't adequate, he said, because it wouldn't cover pre-existing conditions. Fortunately, in 2001, there was not such a strict enforcement of the rule that visitors can only stay for 90 days, so we didn't have any problems leaving after having spent 10 months in Italy. Now that rule is strictly enforced. I've since read that to get an appointment at a questura, one must go to a post office, not just any post office, but one with a sportello amico, a friend window, to fill out a form to get an appointment. But I'd also read from people's personal experience that they went to the questura and no one paid any attention to their appointment slip or their appointment time. They just had to wait in line like all the other people. I decided to go directly to the questura to test this out. I had many of the needed documents in my portable file folder, but I was told I lacked the most important item, the applicant. I couldn't get any forms to fill out without Lucy being present. So the next day, Lucy and I went together to the questura in Lucca. We arrived 10 minutes before opening hours, so we'd be near the head of the line. After a 20-minute wait, we received our forms and an appointment for about 2 weeks away, not too long to wait. And it appeared that the requirements weren't too difficult. 4 photos, easily obtained at a photo booth, a Marca da Bollo tax sticker for €16 to be purchased at the nearest tabaccaio, copies of Lucy's passport, including every stamped page, a copy of our registered marriage certificate from Pescia, which I already had, and a declaration for me that I was hosting the foreign visitor at my house, along with a copy of the main page of my passport. The application form consisted of only half a page of very basic information. We went home to fill out the forms, buy the tax sticker, and make the photocopies. I had a few questions about how to fill in several lines on the form, and then I came to one requirement that struck terror in my heart. A line that said, Certificazione Medica, a medical certificate. It had a pen mark under it, or maybe through it. I couldn't tell for sure. This is what had stopped us in Padova. We didn't even have current medical coverage in Italy. Lucy and I went back the next day to ask whether that requirement was underlined or crossed out. Crossed out, she said. What a relief. No medical certificate or insurance would be required. Not only that, but since I had all the other documents in hand, she said she could move the appointment up until tomorrow. We went back the next day. This time we had to wait in line 50 minutes, and then it took another 30 minutes for the clerk to enter in our paperwork. She returned with a signed and stamped receipt that said, Permesso di soggiorno. And then she told us to sit down and wait for the fotosegnalamento. We had no idea what that meant. But she had clearly told us to wait, so we did. After about 15 minutes, someone came out a side door and called us into another office, the office of Polizia Scientifica. There they recorded Lucy's height, weight, and eye color and took digital photos of both her hands. They told us that they would call us in a month to come and get our permesso di soggiorno. We did try to register Lucy right away at the Comune in Monte Carlo, but we were told that the document we'd been given was just a receipt. We had to wait a month to get the actual permesso di soggiorno. We watched the calendar carefully, and when they hadn't called us in a month, we went back to the questura. Sure enough, there it was. What a thrill. With that in hand, we were able to register Lucy as a resident as well, and now she has a carta di identita. It was good for 5 years, and we have since renewed it for an additional 10 years, and that was another adventure that I'll save for another day. If you want to hear more of our stories and what our life is like now in Monte Carlo, I'd recommend you like this video and subscribe to my channel. We've had a ton of interesting adventures, and I'll be sharing them in the coming weeks. Va bene. A presto, ragazzi. Ci vediamo alla prossima.